So yeah, this is the main deal right here. Okay, this is the motherboard, and now you have to assemble basically all the parts that are required over here. First things first, before I start off with anything, forget whatever you are seeing over here. इस साइड को पूरी तरह से भूल जाओ. I want you to focus here, here, and over here. That's it. This is where the brain of the computer will go. That is the processor, the CPU. This is where the RAM will go, and this is where the SSD will go, right? Okay, okay. So first thing that will go in is actually the CPU, right? So I have with me my Ryzen 7 3700X. So this is kind of a new fad these days. All the manufacturers basically give you a sticker, right, with their components, be it a processor, be it the motherboard itself. Like Aorus gave me this, and then HyperX, right, RAM. Now first let's take that out. Installation guide is something which I won't see. Yeah, that's it. Now before that, what I want you to do is this thing. You see, this is actually where the pins will be set up. So you can see there is a lever, tiny lever over here. So you just need to actually, push that out. Right, now you're ready. Now you have to be extremely gentle with this thing, right? This is expensive as hell, one thing, and is very fragile kind of. Try to have a proper look on the four corners. On one of the corners you will see this, right? Yeah, this tiny golden triangle. So trick is to actually align that with a tiny triangle over here. Now in some cases that triangle may be over here, here, or here, right? So that's something which you have to do. So in my case, it's over here, right? Alright, anyways. So if you really want to be very sure, this is the trick. So yeah, see all the four sides, and this is where you will actually find a tiny golden triangle. Can you see this? Yeah, this thing right there. Now align that thing with the triangle over here. So let's do that. That's it. And there are like thousands of tiny metal protrudings which can actually get damaged if you apply a lot of pressure into this. Just then try to move it a bit, just like this. You won't be able to. You'll feel that everything is in a slot. Next up, apply gentle pressure over here to bring the lever back into place. That's it. Believe me, the first time you do this, you will be so tensed and frustrated because the entire world will be telling you that you don't have to damage this and that, but it's easy peasy. Believe me, assembling a battle station or a PC or anything that you want is only difficult the first time you do it. I took a lot of time to make this because I was recording the video, and at times I was kind of fumbling a lot in this and that. But believe me, all of this stuff, including the cable management and putting the entire stuff into the system, will take you hardly 1 or 2 hours. That's it, right? So next up is the RAM. Now for the RAM, there is a specific thing that I want you to understand. So there is the A1, there is the A2, there is the B1, and there is the B2, right? There are basically 4 slots in which you can place the RAM. So in my case, the RAMs are 8 plus 8 gigabytes. That is, I have 2 RAMs that totally sum up to 16 GBs. So what I'll do is to install them in the second and the fourth. By second and fourth, I mean A2 and B2, right? Be very clear. A2 and B2. It's marked, right? Child's play. कुछ नहीं है, बच्चों की चीज़ है. A2, B2. Basically, this is what the RAM looks like, right? So you can see there is a tiny partition over here in the middle. That needs to be aligned with the partitions here. Just place it over here gently and push it. It should click, right? It should click like a briefcase. If it does not, then your RAM is not able to properly fit. Take the second RAM again, do the same thing. Pull the levers on each side. right? Yeah. Don't apply too much of pressure. If it can close, it's alright. That's it. That's it. That's the processor is done, the RAM is done. Now, an important thing will be the M.2 SSD, right? You can see over here there is already a screw provided for the same. Now, I'll unscrew this. So yeah, you'll be needing this tiny thing. Yeah, okay, cool. This is just a tiny screw which will actually hold your SSD in place, right over here. First, let's take this thing out. Alright, so this is the NVMe SSD that I've got, and this is the M.2 slot where it will actually go, right? So as you can see, I've already taken off the shield, cover, shield, or whatever you want to call it. Storage devices actually tend to get heated up a lot. That's why there is a heat sink provided for the same. So I'll keep it over here, not needed as of now. First things first, I'll install the SSD that I've got, which is the Western Digital Blue NVMe SSD. This is a 500 gigabytes storage, promising around 2.5 to 3 gigabytes per second. Excellent thing. Again, insert it over here. Yeah, it will kind of, like a cantilever, it will stand up. So you have to put it down. So what will you use? You'll use this thing. This thing. Such a tiny screw. You basically push this down, this. Now take the heatsink and place it over there, just as it was earlier. Unscrew this thing and you are good to go, right? So basically, your processor is in place, your RAM is in place, and your SSD is in place. That's all. That's the only thing that you need to put up on the motherboard. Rest of the other things are just connections, right? But before we move further, there is an essential thing which I have not installed. That is the CPU cooler, which comes in with this Ryzen 7 3700X processor. So next thing, yeah, CPU cooler, right? So AMD is an amazing brand, so they have already applied a small layer of thermal paste, so you don't actually need to buy a thermal paste separately if you are using this particular product. I would not recommend, because I don't know about Ryzen 5 3600X or Ryzen 5 3600 or any other processors. I just know about Ryzen 7 3700X. They provide you with this. So this is an RGB cooler, and you will see what exactly this looks like once this is installed. As you can see, there are two brackets over here which will actually hold this fan into position. So let's get started. Now, some of the basic stuff of the cooler. So this is a Riot Prism cooler which comes in the box with the AMD Ryzen 7 3700X. So you don't need to worry about that. This will actually go somewhere over here, which is the CPU fan, right? Everything is marked. Sab kuch mark kiya hua hai. So you don't have to worry about anything. Good. So now what all is there? Actually, this is the CPU fan connector, which will go over here, as you can see, right? And if you turn it towards the side, you'll see that there are a few other things, right? So there is the low and high switch. So basically, it will always be high for me. So not to worry about that. All right. You can see these two things, right? What exactly are those? Let's take the strip off. There is one 3-pin slot for the USB, I guess, and there is one 4-pin slot for the RGB, right? So basically there are two latches, right? This is one latch, this is another latch. So this is kind of a locking mechanism, as you can see. So as you can see, this kind of moves up and locks stuff. So let's get started. this thing will be fixed over here, and this will be fixed, this side will be fixed over here. So there are two brackets where you can actually attach this. So yeah, so this is easy to remember. So the opposite of this one, where you have actually performance setting switch and this 4-pin and 3-pin slots. So you basically put it on this side, right? And it will also further make this connection quite easier, right? Now let's get started. So you just need to connect one side, and after that everything will kind of line up. Alright, so I'll try to get you a better perspective, right? So basically you have to apply a bit of pressure over here, and you can see, I don't think you can see that, yeah, it seems like it's going to break any moment, but no, don't worry, just keep pushing. Yeah, locked into place. This is ready. So basically what you do with this particular thing is you take it and tuck the cable nice and tight. Yeah, all the stuff is in place. The only thing that remains is the graphics card. Now I won't be connecting the graphics card over here right now, because the motherboard which you're seeing right now will become something like this, right? समझ लो एक heavy चीज़ है और एक slot के बल पे वो अटकी हुई है. So अभी नहीं करेंगे. We will first assemble the cabinet. So all the stuff that we need is actually in place. Now let's move on to the cabinet. So again, just before we move on to the cabinet, I wanted to show you this. This actually came in with the cooler. There are two cables, as you can see. So basically this is the USB connector, and this is the RGB connector. Now this RGB connector for the cooler is not needed because all the RGB lightings in this Wrath Prism cooler by AMD can be controlled by a software, so you don't need a separate this thing. You can just throw that away. But definitely we'll be needing this one, the USB. So it will definitely go into the USB slots over here. And as I showed you earlier, there is a 3-pin connector on the cooler on the right side, so you can directly connect this thing. And the 3-pin connector is kind of very fragile, so I don't want to take that thing out. Just to show you, let's just keep it like that. It's inserted. With this, the motherboard is ready. Now we can finally move to the cabinet. Alright, so as you can see, we are in the end game now. This is the cabinet. Power supply unit will go somewhere over here. The hard drive will also be inserted in this slot. You can't see anything. Obviously there is a tempered glass over here which will be removed. Graphics card will be mounted in this slot like I told you, but only after I vertically mount this motherboard on this cabinet. Then the coolers will be installed along with the adapters. Finally, after that, I'm going to install the antenna. Right, this is the antenna. This is a Wi-Fi motherboard. Obviously, see these two gold ports, they'll go over here, and yeah, so that's how basically it works. So yeah, that's the antenna. And then after that, the screen, the keyboard, the mouse, and the mouse pad. If you think of the computer as a human, the graphics card is your muscle, the processor is your brain, and this is your skeletal system, frame, bones, right? इसके बिना कुछ भी possible नहीं है. So all the stuff which you saw right now will go inside this. And I have not yet peeled off this plastic because that's for the last. Let's keep that for the last because it's very soothing and orgasmic kind of to pull this off. So let's begin. Let's remove the side panel first. Keep it somewhere safe. Off it comes. Okay. Keep it in a carton with foam or other stuff so that it does not get scratched. And let's give you a sneak peek what's inside. Alright, this is basically where the exhaust fan will go, and these two places I'll place two fans. So I basically have three input fans, so I'll have three output fans too, two at the top and one here. This is where the graphics card will get attached, like this. Corsair has already provided three fans, and there is a lot of cable for that. Let's not get into that mess. Now, as you can see, there are perforations over here too. So basically when you put the PSU over here, the power supply unit, so you can actually place the fan over here too, right? But I won't suggest it, because to cool any stuff, basically what you need is to pull in some fresh air, right? And so since this fan will be opened over here, this will kind of pull in the hot air which is already there in the cabinet, so won't do any good to our PSU, right? So I would suggest installing the PSU something like this, right? Where your fan, basically this part, will be at the bottom. So as you can see over here, there is sufficient space, so it can actually pick up the air from here and draw air from these perforations that you can see, right? Now the main question is, where will the motherboard go? So as you can see, if you push this aside a bit, and I'll switch on the flash so that you get a better view. If you push this on the side, alright, so this is the place where the motherboard will actually fit, right? And there are various standoffs, as you can see. This is one standoff. The motherboard screws go into these standoffs. So these are kind of the support structures. So you'll see there are 9 of them, right? 1, 2, 3, 3 on the top and 3 at the bottom. This stuff, I'm talking about this stuff, right? Corresponding to that, you'll see on the motherboard on all sides there are holes, right? One hole over there, one hole over here, one hole over here, one here. It's basically 9 standoffs, and I guess, yeah, so there are basically 9 standoffs and 9 holes, right? 3, 1, 2 and 3, and 1 and 2 and 3, right? So these standoffs will kind of hold this motherboard in place when this is, vertically mounted. So that's important. Now for the screws, wait a minute, where's the screw? No, that's not the screw. This is the screw for the power supply unit which I just showed you. These are by AntEsports for the fans, and just wait a minute.